Hi, Charlotte. How are you?
Hi, Josh. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thank you. And really appreciate you taking the time to talk about this movie because I had such a great time watching it. And I guess to begin with, there hasn't been anywhere near enough female-led action movies in Hollywood. And, you're now following in the footsteps of those really iconic efforts. So, as the lead star, the co-writer, and the producer of this one, what was that pressure like to really come to this genre and put your mark on it in a way that resonates?
Well, as a writer producer, I sat down with my co-writer slash director Neil Marshall, and we'd done two films previously, and we were like, well, what do you want to do next? And that's when we were like, we want to do a really cool gangster movie, and it just came very organically. We said, yeah, what do you think? We done a drama, we done a action sci-fi, what do you want to do next? And we started talking about the classic films, Scarface, Godfather, Departed, Layer Cake. But then that's when I said, and as you just said, Josh, like, just wouldn't it be cool to have a woman running the shots for once, a woman boss? Like, I haven't seen that before. Like, I haven't seen a great gangster movie since the classics, and I've never seen a woman boss. Why don't we do that? And it's something completely different and fresh, and I think audiences will like. Obviously, we had to navigate a little bit because you're not going to be able to physically outbeat these guys, but that's why she had to outsmart them and do other things and build her crew. And it was so cool. I mean, and it was difficult to find examples because usually you can have a look for inspiration, and we were inspired by the classics, but we didn't really have anything to go by, any references as it, in terms of female led gangster movies, because we'd never seen it before.
Yeah, well, it's a great thing to see. And of course, this is at its core a tale of this, working class criminal who gets to rise up the ranks to be in, as you said, like a ruthless crime leader. So in that sense, what about that side of things appealed to you? And again, taking her from being Scarlet to the Duchess.
Well, when we were coming up with the script, we were thinking about, okay, it's a gangster movie, so where are we going to take this in regards to what kind of gangster? And we thought that the drugs cartel has been done so many times before. And Neil said, look, I want this to be a glamorous movie. Why don't we make it about diamonds so we can have the glitz and the glamour and the everything that comes with it? So that's when we wanted to make it about diamonds. So then we got inspired by Blood Diamonds. We're like, okay, so let's do gangster, then add a little bit of Blood Diamond to it as well. um, so we wanted to add that, make that a little bit different. And then, sorry, what's the next part of that question? Sorry.
Just what resonated with you about telling this specific story of taking her from being, Scarlet, this working class criminal, to the Duchess, where she is in charge of this great gang, isn't she, as this crime
Yeah,
leader?
I think this, we wanted to make her rise, this to be about her rise to power. A very My Fair Lady vibe, right? Where you take her from very small town petty thief stuck in this goldfish world, and then taking her into opening her up, falling in love first, of course, falling in love, and then being dived into this whole other universe. And how she's going to cope with that. I mean, very fish out of water, but then for her, Scarlett, she's so cool, and I love her so much. It's like it just comes naturally to her. Like, okay, cool, and it doesn't phase her. So it was really cool to. We wanted to have that journey, that arc of nitty gritty London vibes too, but you're still seeing her potential and power, and then the whole arc of her into this. I mean, really out of her depths, but for her, handling it very, very cool, and ultimately becoming the boss. So we really wanted to make sure we get that in, because I think any good gangster movie, you see that, you see that with The Godfather, you see that with Scarface, you see their rise to power, and I think that was very, very important. As much as it being as a revenge film as well, is as much as a revenge film is it's a gangster film, so it's kind of got a little bit of everything to it. Gangster film, then it's about diamonds, it's about lots of different things.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you mentioned that revenge element because, of course, when the Duchess does go on that mission of revenge, she's kicking a lot of ass. You know, you're getting
Yeah.
hands-on with weapons, a lot of fighting. So the training side of that for you, what was that like? And the physicality as well, then obviously bringing that to set.
Just want to mention with the revenge, a lot of revenge films today happen within the first 5 minutes, and it's like
Yeah.
you don't really care or about the characters. Another reference for this film was Man on Fire, Denzel Washington. The revenge happened 1 hour in because you cared for the character and you don't expect it. And I don't think you do expect what happens in this film. But you start to love the characters before anything bad happens, which I think is so important. And in regards to the physical aspects, well, that was very challenging. I'd never boxed before this. Again, she didn't have to be a professional boxer, but she had to look like she knew what she was doing. She had boxed before. She had, she grew up on that. So I wanted to make sure it looked as real and authentic as possible. And again, it comes into play later on, her boxing. So that's very important. So that was challenging. I mean, one of the most challenging days on set was when Scarlett was in the boxing ring training, and Rob walks in and she's talking to him, and it was literally like trying to pat your head and rub your belly at the same time, where I'm doing all these boxing moves, right hook, left hook, uppercut, and I'm trying to say all this dialogue at the same time. That was very tough, very, very tough, but really loved it as well. And we wanted her to have some kind of skill that we could bring in later on. So, of course, she has the guns and all the fun stuff, all the toys, but we wanted her to have some skill as well. So,
Yeah, awesome. And of course, I think as well, this film, it doesn't shy away from showing obviously how violent men can be towards women, particularly with Scarlett early on. And then
yeah.
later, she obviously uses her sexuality to, get back at some of the men in some ways and manipulate them, and when she's taking her revenge. So when it came to that side of things, what was important to you about depicting that in this story and making that a really crucial part of the film, which I thought will really resonate with people as well?
Well, I think, look, as a woman, you're not going to be able to, not all women, but for me and my physicality, I wasn't going to be able to physically outdo these guys. These are strong, massive henchmen. So we wanted to use, what do women have? And again, guys do it as well. Guys use their sexuality. So Bond uses his sexuality all the time. So we wanted to, not just because she's a woman, but use things. She's not going to be able to outfight them, so she's going to outsmart them. So that's ultimately what we did. And yeah, she uses her sexuality sometimes. She just doesn't give a shit sometimes and just punches them. She's kind of a little bit towards the end out of control. A little bit like Tony Montana and Scarface. She did, at the end, she didn't care. She just was on this path of revenge, and that was that. So again, she used anything she had at her disposal. In one scene, she had a bottle of vodka. She just smashed the guy around the face. Oh, she saw an iron. She's just gonna sizzle his nuts. So that's the thing about Duchess. She just uses anything that she can at that point. And I think in a gangster film, that's what you do. And again, you're seeing her rise to power. She's not a calculated, been in the business for many years boss. She's still a little bit, she's green, she's rough around the edges. She's just figuring it out. She knows her end goal, and she's going to do anything she can to get there, ultimately.
Yes, well, that's fantastic, and a really great line in the film. I know she says it a couple of times, but the first time she says, "What have balls got to do with it?" to one of the guys who's looking down at her, obviously for
Yeah.
being a woman, and then kicks his ass. So to be this badass, strong character, what regardless of gender, what did that mean to you to bring that to the table and to just those expectations to usurp them in some ways?
I mean, as an actor, it was just so much fun to play, and interesting figuring out from the beginning of her journey and then to the end. I think exploring that, and as a writer as well, when me and Neil were writing the script, like, okay, how are we going to do this? She starts here and we want her to end here. How are we going to make this work and look authentic and real, and to write what Scarlett would do? So it was just awesome and so much fun to write and to play and to produce this whole picture, really. And I think Scarlett was that. She is that, you know, she is Duchess. So we just wanted her to be as relatable. It's very, very important for her to be relatable, because I think she's not, a lot of these gangster films, when you see gangster films, they're already at the top. And you know, like when we come into Layer Cake, you know, he's already on his mission. He's already been doing this for many years. With Duchess, we wanted the audience to see her rise to power. We thought that was very, very important. And I think, again, as you said, it's not gender related, but to see a woman do this, that was very, very important, because we haven't really seen that before, and we haven't seen a woman's rise to power before. So that's what we wanted to do.
Yeah, it's such a great story arc and a great character. And I know Hollywood, you know, tends to have this habit of just sequelizing everything, but I couldn't help but watch this film and think, you know, this Duchess character, I'd like to see more of her, and, you know, maybe expand that story. Is that something, I know it's early days, but is that something you would think about doing, maybe continuing with this character, should you be able to do that?
I wanted to call it Duchess Part 1, and Neil was like, no, you can't say that. I was like, yeah, but Godfather Part 1, like, because I 100% would love to explore her and play her again, because really at the end of the film, she's just starting. It's just her rise to power. So I would absolutely love to see more of what she would do and where we can take this character. I already have ideas, and I think we wouldn't want to lose the essence of where she's come from, and we want to keep a lot of that in Part 2. But yes, absolutely, it was always my goal to see, because there's so much. I think that's great about TV shows today, right? You've got hours with these characters, so you can see them and see their development and see where they go. So I would absolutely love to see, you know, Duchess Part 2 and see what she would do next.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that one. And just one final question for you, Charlotte. I think something that's going to surprise a lot of people is when they see what Stephanie Beacham brings to the table as this character. Very unexpected, but for you to share the screen with her and to explore that dynamic, how much fun was that?
Oh my God, it was amazing. I mean, her beautiful, elegant RP voice and the words that come out are pretty pretty contrasting, but just so great. Again, Uncle Charlie was originally written as a guy. We're like, no, this needs to be a woman, you know, this needs to be a woman Dom. So, and then when we found out we got her, I was just so over the moon, and she was a blast. I mean, some of it, it's not in the trailer, but you know, she does a Colombian necktie the first time you see her. It's like was like, how can we push this character to the limits? So Scarlett's here, but her inspiration, her boss is here. So how are we going to push that? And she was great. She was up for anything. She was like, sure, let's do it. Okay, let's get the leather gloves out, and let's give this guy a Colombian necktie. So much fun. Amazing.
Oh, incredible. Well, Charlotte, thank you so much for your time. I think people are going to have a blast with this movie because it's such a good time, and congratulations on the film. Looking forward to seeing what's next.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you.